So I'm Colin Kuebler. This is my first RCOS presentation. So I'm a little nervous, give a little slack. And I'm working on the Koala project, which is my own creation. So imagine you have your little brother, sister, grandpa, pet fish. They all want to learn computer programming. Where do you start? There's a couple problems, right? So we have a whole bunch of IDEs, right? The integrated development environments, development platforms all in general tend to be confusing. There's all sorts of differences on different platforms. Where do you start when you want to install GCC? You know, and syntax for beginner programmers tends to be scary. It's code and it has to be just exactly the same way every time, or else it won't work. You misspell something, wrong case somewhere, and it messes up. So what's the solution? Koala. It's my own introductory scripting language. It's web-based to avoid the problem of platform problems, and the language itself is supposed to be very intuitive, English-based, and very flexible. So you misspell something, it should be able to recognize that. If you put something in the wrong order, it'll be able to recognize that. So very helpful error detection. So nonsense slide. It's not Python or C#, Java. Yeah. Just a few reasons why I chose the name Koala. This is a tentative name. I don't know if I'm going to keep the name, because apparently there's already a Koala project, or several of them. You Google for that. If anyone has any suggestions on names, I'd love to hear them. So what I've done so far, mainly GUI design. It's gone through a bunch of different revisions. I started out with a very simple fixed width HTML form. Moved on, added some fancy CSS attributes, and finally settled on this thing where I have these different panels, and it's full width. I got rid of the fixed width so that it would expand and fill your screen. There's a bunch of challenges. I really can't draw Koala to save my life. That's me making a funny face in Lally office hours because I can't figure out Git. Text areas. There's this thing called text edit, and there's a couple other tools I've looked into, JavaScript based. You can take an iframe and you can put an content editable, but it only works on certain browsers. So we have different browser problems. And for next time, I hope to have a working demo to show you all. Right now it's just a GUI and some bits of JavaScript that do a little bit, but not exactly something to show off. So I want to finish the interpreter core. I plan on having extensive documentation on the language, fix a bunch of the browser inconsistencies, mainly problems with IE, of course. Backend, it's a PHP backend where you can go onto the Koala site and you can save your files directly on the service. And a welcome page would be nice, something like Observatory where you have some sort of outline of all the projects going on, different users are making. And I have GUI in progress for making, a workbench. I call it a workbench, and what it is allows you to design GUIs for your Koala app. And I'm starting work on that. So yeah, thank you, and thanks to Peter and Nate for helping me with Git, and Morthy and RCOS, of course. Any questions? Yes?
One project that you might want to take some inspiration from, it's not open but it's free, it's an MIT project called Scratch.
I've looked into that.
You've seen that? Yeah. They find good ways, they did a lot of research into education and they found some good ways to make things simple. So although, I mean, that's a GUI scripting language and not
exactly,
text-based
that's a big
one.
problem I found with that.
Well, I'm not saying it's the same kind, but you can take some inspiration in how they explain things, because they have documentation and they have a lot of things like that, so.
Another thing, this is not necessarily oriented towards children, but it's supposed to be for beginner programmers anywhere, even your grandpa or your pet fish. So, but thank you. Yeah, I'll look into it. Yeah.
So you said that if they misspell keywords or whatever, it will just work anyway. Will it tell them that they misspelled?
Yes.
it?
It'll have what I had plans for was a little pop-up right above the word itself that would say what the problem is, what's the appropriate way to word it out, and it should be intelligent enough to figure it out even if you misspell something, to an extent, of course. If you just type in gibberish, it won't. I'll say, I don't understand this. Yes?
So then once you've written a Koala app, is it then just going to be a web app, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you'll be able to access it from a different link. You can send it to your friends or family and say, oh, here's my Koala app. And it doesn't necessarily show you the source code, but you can look at the source code. An aim of this is to promote open source from early on. So everything is inherently open source. If you don't publish your script, you can't send links to friends. So by publishing, you're releasing the source to the Koala community. Yes?
So, questions, Dave?
So there were several suggestions, I think, to not start your own language and instead try to dumb down an existing language like Python or something, so that then once you learn the basics, you don't have to start all over with a new language. You can just keep going. So did you think about that? And I mean, writing in a language from scratch is a pretty big undertaking.
True. So I took into account the idea that it should be extendable, but I'm not. I mean, it's JavaScript underneath. So you can forward JavaScript commands, but on the idea of having Python, that would just be an extra layer. I looked into Sculpt, and that was a really interesting project, and I got a lot of great things out of that. But I suppose I took part of that into account. And
yeah, so Microsoft recently, I think, made something called Tiny Basic or Small Basic, which is Windows only, so it's kind of dumb. But they include a library that lets you get pictures from Flickr and change your desktop wallpaper. That's like the only libraries that they have at all. But for new people, it's kind of fun because it's something that they can do. I was wondering if you were thinking of sort of Yahoo Pipes-esque things that that people could have their Koala apps like do right out of the box that would sort of make it more than just a single website.
I'll certainly have examples. I don't know if I'll have. I'll have example scripts for beginners to learn from, but I don't think I'll have specific libraries for, say, Flickr or something like that.
Okay.
That answers your question.
Thank you very much, Colin. Yeah, at least we exposed JavaScript. JavaScript is now I was told JavaScript is the #1 programming language, the most used programming language. That's what